Botaji, welcome back. Well, I'm back home in San Antonio after my long weekend, 3-day weekend to Cruz das Almas and the beautiful city of Salvador to visit my friend Sarah and her group. And I'm puttering around in my garden. Not much of a garden, but I have to have plants to take care of. And these plants survived my absence, making sure, well, they're getting lots of water. I don't need to water them because it's been raining heavily. We're in the rainy season, very much so. And it's overcast. And while it's not exactly cool, it's barely warm, which is quite nice. And now it's back to reality, for a short while anyway. The reality being what's happening back up in the United States. Just the news from home is incredibly bad. It's tragic what's happening. Every single day brings a new disaster from the Trump regime. I really am becoming more and more convinced that the United States is in decline. It's an empire in decline, possibly in terminal decline, with these irrational decisions, can be called decisions, by Trump, specifically these ridiculous tariffs, a 50% tariff against Brazil, which Brazil does not deserve, 50% tariff against Europe, etc., all around the world. These tariffs are going to backfire on the United States, and I think they're going to send the United States economy into a steep decline, into a recession, if not a depression. I think the worst is ahead for the United States. It's a tragedy. Some Americans deserve what's coming because they jumped on the Trump train and became part of the Trump cult. But many, many, many Americans do not deserve what's coming. I am glad I got out. In what way could it affect me? Well, at this stage of my life, I'm totally dependent on the US dollar. If I were in my early 20s and had just graduated from university, I would leave the United States permanently and start building my career and my investments and my retirement savings outside the United States in a diversified portfolio of currencies, and I would be betting against the dollar. I don't know how much longer the U.S. dollar can continue to be the reserve currency of the United States, of the world rather. More and more countries such as Brazil and the BRICS and the European Union and Asian countries are looking to form economic blocs outside of the orbit of the United States. We see that with the BRICS, the European Community, the European Union, and I think the United States and the US dollar have a long and rocky road ahead and a decline in the value and importance of the US dollar. The US debt is unsustainable, and the U.S. is losing its influence as it watches Trump make these ridiculous flip-flopping decisions, going back and forth on tariffs. One day imposing tariffs, and the next day postponing them, and then the next day increasing them. The United States is becoming a laughingstock. It's not a serious government anymore. It's not a government to be trusted. It's not a government to be taken seriously. And countries such as Brazil, which is and will be a rising star globally, are looking for alternatives. And as I said, if I were 20, I would make a beeline and find a new way of building a career and building for my future. Now at 70, I don't have that option. I can and have left the United States, but I'm dependent on the dollar. I'm dependent on Social Security. So in that way, I very much watch what's happening. But I'm afraid I think the United States is getting its comeuppance. It's getting its just desserts for electing a wannabe dictator, an incompetent dictator, in the name of Trump. I think the world is in a very dangerous place right now. I think the potential for more war, a world war, is increasingly likely, especially with an unstable narcissist at the helm of the United States. He can't be trusted. He can't be counted on. A certain percentage of the population of the United States has gone crazy, joined a cult, is irrational. It's frightening. And I'm glad I got out. My life is good here in Brazil. As I've said before, I'm grateful to Brazil for having taken me in, for having provided me with this life, this opportunity at a late stage in my life. Thank you, Brazil. Obrigado, Brasil. And for those of you who are motivated, I hope you find a safe harbor from the coming turmoil. I'm not suggesting that Brazil is the right place for everybody or anybody. It worked for me, but there are lots of options, lots of choices in Europe, Latin America, Asia. Find yours if you're so motivated. If you too are concerned about the instability of the United States and the direction that it's going in. Take that first step. Start doing your research. You'll find lots of information and advice from people who have done it on YouTube and at your local library and your local bookstore. Start studying a second language or a third language of the country or region that you're interested in. And start taking the steps necessary. Most of all, it just requires motivation, a little bit of guts, a sense of adventure. What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work out, you go home. But at least make the effort. And who knows? I hope you find your right spot, your, if I dare to say it, your paradise, your refuge, somewhere in the world, as I have found mine. I'm always focusing in here on my little library, always adding books. I don't know why, but books give me a sense of comfort and a sense of security, and they're like an anchor to me. You know, I've always said, I'm like air. I don't believe in astrology, but if you do believe in astrology, well, my sun sign, moon sign, and rising signs are all air. And I do have a tendency to kind of want to float away. And books, having a collection of books and adding to my collection is like an anchor for me in a strange way. And I think I've always seen it like that because as a child, there were always books in my house, and my mother was a collector of books and a big reader, and I did get that from her. I inherited that from her, at least. And I've also very much always been a lover of maps all through my life since childhood. That's why I have this big big map of South America on my bedroom wall facing me, and when I'm lying in bed I can look up at it. And of course I've landed here in Brazil, in the state of Bahia, the city of Salvador. But the world is a big place, South America is a big place, and I like to look at the map and imagine what it would be like to maybe move someplace else. Not that I'm planning to. I've been to every country in South America except for the 3 small Guianas. I've not been to Guyana, Suriname, or French Guyana. Who knows, maybe someday. But I've been to every other country in South America. I've been to every country in Central America except for Costa Rica. And I've been to Mexico and lived in Mexico, of course. I've been to countries in the Caribbean and other places around the world. And I've always, always, always been attracted to and love maps, atlases, and globes. Ever since I was a little kid. So anyway, I just wanted to check in because it's going to be a short one. I hope you all have a great week. And as always, beijos, ciao.